that's really great that you guys are pushing for the ballot access. I mean, for the ballot, because I mean, you guys did get, well, for a while, the felons or, you know, ex-incarcerated individuals
that went through
incarceration were able to vote. So things can happen. And you know what? Only 12% of the country supports a full abortion ban. Only 12%. It's extremely unpopular. No one wants this. The only reason it's passing in these states is because all these seats are uncontested and the Republican Party's just running roughshod over everything.
That's what I said. Our state's been hijacked.
I would have been the first to tell you prior to the 6-week abortion ban, because most people, I think, generally speaking, 15 weeks is probably too early, but there probably would have been something between probably 15 to 20 weeks that I think
I find the whole discussion so infuriating.
Probably anything that would have been compromised would have been before the third trimester. Nevertheless,
they're discussing
you've gotten to the point now where you're talking about the 6-week abortion ban. If that had not gone through, even if it was the 15-week that stayed on the books, I've been saying it for a year, that DeSantis was our next president. His decision to do this
was the end.
Has basically completely now opened the door for Trump all over again.
Yep.
And Trump has made it clear. He has gone on national TV. He has gone on the most conservative networks and said, I totally think that it should be an exception for rape, for incest, and the life of the child and the mother. And it's like, and they're not going to push back on him because they know he's right. And they said, and listen, we have to win elections. That was exactly what he said. And he's correct. And
so he's going to look like the candidate who has the grades.
He's going to go to the left.
Yes.
He's going to go to the left.
That's because the people are to the left. Trump knows this. He's already going to the left on a bunch of issues. And I'll tell you why. Because he learned this last time, this misconception that a bunch of people have about these red states, this misconception that they have because the mainstream media has been telling you Kentucky's a red state. Right. All the voters there are bigots because it's a red. No, it's red because there's no one else running in these seats but Republicans, and we don't have a choice. If you look at polls or you look at state ballots, for instance, in Kentucky and Kansas, when they were able to keep it off the Constitution, they voted against abortion bans. When it was a ballot. Anytime there's a ballot in the state, the ballot goes left. That's because the people are left. If you're going to run on white right wing, white nationalism, I don't like migrants, I don't like immigrants, I am anti, LGBT people, LGBTQ people, I'm, all these things, you are going to alienate most voters, because even though people think poor people in rural areas are a bunch of ignorant bigots, I got news for you. We're actually not. No. Actually, most of Trump voters were wine moms. And Jonathan Haidt recently did an article like why we've been the dumbest we have been in 10 years or something like that. It was in the Atlantic. It was so good. But apparently a lot of the right-wing trolls or the extremist trolls on both sides are moms in wealthy suburbia, like wealthy wine moms. It's not the guy, the nerdy guy in the basement looking like Cartman. It is wine moms, which is totally crazy and hilarious. So there's a misconception about where the public is because these out-of-touch people don't talk to us. Well, they don't come down to find out what we think.
There's also a lot of virtue signaling that goes on social media where they're saying one thing, but in the privacy of their own home and in the ballot box, they're doing something completely different. Completely different.
That's right. And they don't understand algorithms. So they'll think everyone supports me because I see people, everyone's talking about this on my feed. It must be true. I'm like,
listen, I have a good friend who I consider to have pretty strong, self-esteem. But actually, I can still remember this was probably like 6-7 years ago, and to complain to me like, how come only 10 people liked my post? And I'm thinking, what the hell does that have to do with anything?
First of all, it's such an echo chamber. We have been hijacked here in Florida, and I generally give the benefit of the doubt to other states as well. So like what you're saying, like when people say Florida's red, I will argue Florida is not red. Our state has been hijacked by a red legislature of crazy people that are speaking on behalf of a minority. We passed also a $15 minimum wage here in Florida on our ballot. The same year Trump overwhelmingly won our state, we passed a $15 minimum wage. So Florida is actually a populist kind of purpley state in the rural areas and whatnot. And our legislature is full of evangelical crazy people. That's what it is. And
Aaron Grohl.
Aaron Grohl.
Because Republicans organized locally and on the ground, and Democrats have abandoned it completely.
And when you have halfway decent candidates, I'm not going to name anybody, but when you have halfway decent candidates who literally don't get that punching above your weight class is a very bad move, and you eventually make yourself irrelevant because people will not take you seriously anymore, it's not smart. And it happens everywhere.
Well, we had 2 decent state house candidates that could have, should have won.
Should have.
2 that would have been in Tallahassee right now.
And that's what we know.
And that's what we know. And there were 20 seats that the Democrats could have put someone in and didn't. And we know of 2 that had good candidates and the Democrats didn't help them at all.
No, they've completely left Kentucky. And you know what? I don't want them, because you know what? On our ballot in Kentucky, and actually Florida's pretty, as far as I remember, is pretty easy too. It's easy to run independent for state house. It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Ballot access isn't that hard. So consider running independent, raise that money. And you know what? If you're going and you're knocking doors as a state house candidate, I think if you say you're independent, people are at 65% of the country right now are registered independent now. Yeah. Not just affiliated independent. People are switching their registration. So if you go knocking doors and I'm an independent, I think people are going to really resonate with that, because
here we have it's just no party. Well, that's NPA.
But that's the significance. The school board is trickier because we did have a school board race that was here. Unfortunately, I thought he was a good candidate, but he attached himself to certain people in the Democratic establishment.
Debbie Wasserman.
That I think brought him down. But
for the school board, why would you even do that?
Well, she, for some reason, feels the need to rear her head and get involved in all sorts of nonpartisan local races. And it consistently alienates and pisses people off that are electeds here. We get, no. She has pissed off and burned so many bridges with local people that are our local political people, because she takes positions in races that are none of her business. And that school board race
I'd be so
was
mad.
one of them that she had to connect herself to. She has
and
to
I do
promote.
believe that a second that she gets her, the thing about her in particular is that she really is on point with a Pelosi and with a McConnell and with a Hillary, in that the second they stick their neck out, no pun intended, it really lights a fire under the opposite side.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.